Captain Jin Kang stood at the window of his ship and looked down at the planet below. Kepler 442c was the most dangerous world he had ever seen. The surface was covered in thick yellow clouds that moved like angry waves. Those clouds were not water vapor like on Earth. They were made of acid that could eat through metal in minutes. "Sir, are you sure about this?" asked pilot Rihan from behind him. She was checking the ship's systems for the third time that morning. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, but Jin could see she was nervous. "The survey mission is clear," Jin said. "We need rock samples from the surface. Earth Command wants to know what makes this planet so hostile." Dr. Sol Kim looked up from her equipment. She was the team's scientist, and she loved studying things that other people thought were impossible. "The radiation readings are off the charts," she said. "Most life forms would die here in less than an hour." Engineer Tae Park was working on their protective suits. These were not normal spacesuits. He had spent weeks making them stronger and adding extra layers. "I've done everything I can," he said. "But even these suits won't protect us for long down there." Jin knew his team was scared. He was scared too. But humans had always gone to places where they probably should not go. That was how they learned new things. That was how they found answers to big questions. "The canyon we spotted from orbit looks promising," Jin said. "The rock formations are different there. If we're going to find anything interesting, that's our best chance." The ship shook as they entered the planet's atmosphere. The acid clouds hit their hull like angry fists. Red warning lights flashed on every screen. The temperature outside was hot enough to melt lead. "Landing zone confirmed," Rihan said through gritted teeth. She was fighting hard to keep the ship steady. "But I don't like it. The ground is unstable and those acid storms move fast." They landed in a narrow valley between tall black rocks. The moment they stepped outside, Jin could hear the acid rain hitting their suits. It made a sound like angry insects trying to get in. Sol Kim immediately started taking readings with her scanner. "This is incredible," she said, her voice full of excitement even through the helmet radio. "The rock here is older than anything we've found on other worlds. Some of these formations could be billions of years old." Tae Park set up their drilling equipment. It was a tough machine designed to work in the worst conditions. But even he looked worried as the acid rain continued to fall. "We need to work fast," he said. "These suits won't last more than 6 hours in this environment." They started drilling near the center of the canyon. The drill bit went down through layers of strange rock that sparkled in the dim light. Sol Kim watched her instruments carefully. She was looking for anything unusual. "Wait," she said suddenly. "There's something down there." The drill just hit empty space. Jin looked at her readings. There was definitely a hollow area about 50 feet below the surface. "Could be a cave system," he said. "No," Sol Kim shook her head. "The walls are too smooth. Too straight. This looks artificial." Tae Park stopped the drill and started setting up digging equipment. "If there's something man-made down there, we need to see it." They worked for hours, taking turns digging through the toxic soil. Their suits were already showing signs of damage from the acid rain. Small holes were starting to appear in the outer layers. "Captain," Rihan called from the ship, "there's a massive storm coming our way. We have maybe 2 hours before it hits." Jin looked at the half-finished excavation. They had found the edge of something large and flat. It looked like a wall or maybe a door, but they needed more time to dig it out completely. "Keep digging," he ordered. "We didn't come this far to give up now." Sol Kim was running her scanner over the exposed surface. "These readings don't make sense," she said. "This material isn't like anything in our database. It's absorbing the radiation from the planet instead of being damaged by it." As they dug more, they could see that it was definitely a door. It was huge, at least 20 feet tall and 15 feet wide. The surface was covered in symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. "This is impossible," Tae Park said. "Nothing could survive on this planet long enough to build something like this. The environment would have destroyed it millions of years ago." But the door looked perfect. There were no signs of damage from the acid rain or radiation. If anything, it looked like it had just been built yesterday. Sol Kim was studying the symbols carefully. "These aren't random markings," she said. "There's a pattern here. Mathematical sequences. Look, this one shows prime numbers. This other one looks like the Fibonacci sequence." "It's a puzzle," Jin realized. "Someone built this door as a test. The storm was getting closer." They could see lightning in the distance, and the acid rain was getting heavier. Their suits were holding up, but just barely. "We need to document everything and get back to the ship," Rihan urged. "If that storm catches us out here, we're dead." But Sol Kim was already working on the symbols. She traced them with her gloved finger, following the mathematical patterns. "Just give me a few more minutes," she said. "I think I can solve this." Jin made a decision that would change everything. Instead of retreating to safety, he chose to trust his scientist. "Everyone stay close to Sul," he ordered. "Let's see what happens when we solve this puzzle." The symbols began to glow brighter as Sol Kim traced the final sequence. The ground beneath their feet started to vibrate. Ancient machinery was waking up after sleeping for countless years. Then something impossible happened. The door began to speak. The voice that came from the door was unlike anything Jin had ever heard. It was not male or female, not young or old. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, speaking through their helmet radios in perfect Korean. "You have found us, children of Earth." The four humans stood frozen in shock. Their equipment had not detected any life signs. There were no energy readings that suggested advanced technology. Yet somehow this ancient door was speaking to them in their own language. "How do you know Korean?" Sol Kim asked, her scientific mind immediately focusing on the impossible details. Her voice shook with excitement and fear. "I learned from the first moment of contact," the voice replied. "Your language patterns, your thoughts, your way of understanding the world. It takes only seconds for me to know how to speak with you." Tae Park was scanning the door frantically with his equipment. "Captain, I'm not reading any power sources. No computers, no transmitters. I don't understand how this is possible." The storm was getting closer. Lightning flashed in the acid clouds above them and the rain was getting heavier. Their suits were showing more signs of damage. Small warning lights blinked red on their wrist displays. "We need to get back to the ship," Rihan said urgently. "This storm will kill us if we stay out here much longer." But Jin could not move. They had just made contact with an alien intelligence. This was the most important moment in human history. "Who are you?" he asked the door. "I am a keeper," the voice answered. "I guard knowledge that has waited here for millions of years. You are the first to find me who did not run away when the planet tried to kill you." Sol Kim stepped closer to the door, ignoring the acid rain that was eating away at her suit. "Others have been here before?" "Many species have come to this world," the keeper said. "The proud ones came with big ships and powerful weapons. But they left when their ships started to break down. The wise ones came with great knowledge and clever minds. But they gave up when their people started to die. The strong ones tried to conquer this world with force, but they could not adapt to survive here." Jin felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold rain. "How long have you been waiting?" "I have been here since before your son was born," the keeper replied. "Waiting for a species that would not give up. Waiting for beings who would choose to learn something new instead of staying safe." The lightning was getting closer. Each flash lit up the canyon in bright white light. The thunder was so loud it shook the ground beneath their feet. "Captain, we really need to go," Tae Park said. His equipment was showing dangerous levels of suit damage. "The outer layers won't hold much longer." But Sol Kim was studying the symbols on the door again. They were glowing brighter now, pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat. "These patterns," she said, "they're not just mathematical sequences. They're instructions." "Instructions for what?" Jin asked. "I think they're telling us how to survive here longer," Sol Kim said. "Look at this symbol here. It matches the radiation readings from our suits, and this one shows the chemical structure of the acid rain." The keeper's voice seemed pleased. "Your scientist understands. The door is not just a test of intelligence. It is a gift to help those who prove themselves worthy." Sol Kim was working faster now, tracing new symbol patterns with her finger. As she did, she noticed something amazing happening. The symbol she touched began to change color, shifting from blue to green. "My suit readings are improving," she said in amazement. "The radiation levels are dropping." Tae Park checked his equipment. "That's impossible. Nothing can block this much radiation." But the readings were clear. Somehow the door was creating a protective field around them. The acid rain was still falling, but it was no longer eating through their suits. The dangerous radiation was being held back by an invisible barrier. "How are you doing this?" Tae Park asked the keeper. "Your species builds tools to fight against hostile environments," the keeper explained. "We learned long ago to make the environment work for us instead. This world's radiation and acid are not our enemies. They are our power source." Jin realized what this meant. "You turned this entire planet into a machine." "Not a machine," the keeper corrected. "A test. A way to find species that are worthy of greater knowledge." Your people are the first to survive long enough to learn from the door instead of just trying to break through it. The storm was now directly overhead. Lightning struck the canyon walls, sending sparks flying through the air. But inside the protective field around the door, the humans were safe. What knowledge? Sol Kim asked. What are you guarding here? The collected wisdom of 1,000 dead civilizations, the keeper said. Sciences that could advance your people by millions of years. Technologies that could transform your understanding of the universe. But such knowledge comes with a price. What price? Jin asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. To learn from us, you must prove that you will not make the same mistakes that destroyed the civilizations that came before you. You must show that your species deserves to survive. Rihan was watching the storm rage around their protective bubble. And if we fail this test? Then you join the others in silence, the keeper said simply. But I do not think you will fail. Your species has already shown something remarkable. What's that? Jin asked. You came to this death world not to conquer it, but to understand it. You faced impossible dangers not for glory or power, but for knowledge. And when you found something beyond your understanding, you did not attack it or try to control it. You tried to communicate with it. Sol Kim was still studying the symbols, learning their patterns. With each one she understood, more information flowed into her mind. She could see glimpses of technologies that seemed like magic, sciences that could reshape reality itself. The real test hasn't even started yet, has it? She asked. No, the keeper admitted. What comes next will challenge everything your species believes about sacrifice, wisdom, and the true cost of knowledge. Are you prepared to continue? Jin looked at his team. Their suits were holding up better now thanks to the protective field. The storm would pass eventually. They had found something that could change the course of human history. We're ready, he said. The door began to open. The door opened slowly, revealing a passage that seemed to stretch forever into darkness. Cool air flowed out, carrying strange scents that reminded Jin of flowers and metal at the same time. The walls inside glowed with soft blue light, showing symbols that moved and changed like living things. Step forward, the keeper said, but know that once you enter, there is no going back until the test is complete. Jin led his team into the passage. The moment they crossed the threshold, the door sealed behind them with a soft sound like a sigh. The protective field that had kept them safe from the storm was now inside with them. The archive lies ahead, the keeper explained as they walked, but first you must understand why this test exists. The passage opened into a vast chamber. The walls were covered with images that moved like windows showing different worlds. Jin could see beautiful planets with crystal cities, underwater civilizations with creatures that swam through liquid starlight, and worlds where mountains floated in the sky. These were the civilizations that came before you, the keeper said. Each one reached for knowledge beyond their understanding. Each one thought they were ready for the wisdom of the universe. Sol Kim was studying the moving images carefully. What happened to them? Watch and learn. One of the images grew larger, showing a world covered in silver cities. Beautiful creatures with wings of light flew between towers that reached toward the stars. The Zelthari were proud of their achievements, the keeper explained. They had conquered disease, ended war, and created perfect harmony on their world. The image changed. The silver cities were now dark and empty. The winged creatures lay still on the ground, their light faded forever. They found our archive on a different world, the keeper continued. They learned how to change the basic forces of nature itself. But they used this knowledge to make themselves into gods. In their pride, they forgot how to be humble. They thought they no longer needed to learn or grow. So they stopped changing, stopped adapting. When a new challenge came, they could not survive it. Another image showed creatures that looked like giant trees with golden leaves. They lived in harmony with their world, never taking more than they needed. The Mentaki were the wisest beings we had ever encountered, the keeper said. They understood the connections between all living things. But this image also turned dark. The tree-like beings withered and fell, their golden leaves turning to dust. They learned from our archive how to see the future itself, the keeper said. They could predict every possible outcome of every decision. But this knowledge paralyzed them. Knowing all the ways that things could go wrong, they became afraid to do anything at all. They spent so much time trying to avoid making mistakes that they forgot how to live. Park was recording everything with his equipment. You're saying that knowledge can be dangerous? Knowledge without wisdom is like fire without control, the keeper replied. It can light the way or burn everything down. A third image showed creatures that looked almost human, but with skin that changed colors like jewels. They lived in cities that grew like plants, always changing and adapting. The Drakthi were the most resourceful species we had encountered, the keeper said. They could solve any problem and adapt to any challenge. Jin watched as this civilization also fell into darkness. They learned from our archive how to control time itself, the keeper explained. They thought they could fix every mistake by going back and changing it. But each change created new problems that needed more changes. Soon they were trapped in an endless loop, constantly trying to perfect a past that kept getting more complicated. They lost sight of the present and forgot how to move forward. The images faded, leaving the humans alone with the keeper in the glowing chamber. Now you understand, the keeper said. Power without humility leads to pride that destroys. Wisdom without courage leads to fear that paralyzes. Intelligence without direction leads to confusion that traps. Every species we have tested has fallen to one of these failings. Sol Kim stepped forward. But you're still testing us. That means you think we might be different. Your species interests me, the keeper admitted. You have survived on your world not because you are the strongest or the smartest or the most adapted. You have survived because you refuse to give up when things become impossible. Jin felt a chill of understanding. That's why this planet is so hostile. You're not testing our intelligence or our technology. You're testing our stubbornness. More than that, the keeper said. I am testing whether your species can maintain its essential nature, even when offered the greatest temptations. Will you remain human when you could become gods? Will you keep learning when you could know everything? Will you continue to grow when you could control everything? The chamber began to change around them. New passages opened in the walls, each one leading in a different direction. Symbols appeared above each passage, showing different types of knowledge. Each path leads to a different aspect of the archive, the keeper explained. One contains the secrets of healing any disease and extending life forever. Another holds the power to reshape matter itself, to turn any element into any other. A third shows how to travel instantly between any 2 points in the universe. Rihan was studying the passages. And we have to choose just one? No, the keeper said. You must choose whether to take any of them at all. Because once you start down a path of ultimate knowledge, you will face the same temptations that destroyed every other species. The question is whether you are strong enough to resist those temptations. Park looked confused. But why would we resist? This knowledge could solve all of humanity's problems, could it? The keeper asked. Or would it create new problems that are even worse? Every species that has stood in this chamber has been certain they could handle whatever challenges the knowledge might bring. They were all wrong. Sol Kim was quiet for a long moment, thinking deeply. There's something you're not telling us, she said finally. If every species has failed, why do you keep testing? What are you really looking for? The keeper's voice changed, becoming warmer somehow. I am looking for a species that understands that the greatest knowledge is not what you can take, but what you can give. I am looking for beings who seek wisdom not to elevate themselves above others, but to lift everyone together. And you think we might be that species? Jin asked. You have already shown signs of it, the keeper said. When your scientist found this door, she did not try to claim the discovery for herself. She immediately shared it with her team. When your engineer modified your equipment to survive here, he made sure everyone was protected, not just himself. When your pilot risked her life to land on this dangerous world, she did it not for personal glory but to help others learn. The keeper paused, and the chamber grew quiet except for the soft humming of the glowing walls. But signs are not proof, the keeper continued. The real test begins now. Are you ready to face challenges that will push you beyond everything you think you know about yourselves? Jin looked at his team. They had come so far already. They had survived impossible conditions and made contact with an ancient intelligence. But he could see in their eyes that they understood this was just the beginning. We're ready, he said. The real trials began. The chamber changed around them, and suddenly Jin found himself standing alone on the bridge of his ship. But something was wrong. Alarms were blaring and red lights flashed everywhere. Through the windows he could see a massive acid storm approaching faster than any weather system should move. Captain, Rihan's voice came through the communication system. The storm is moving directly toward us. If it hits the ship, the acid will eat through our hull in minutes. We'll be stranded here forever. Jin could see his team on the screen. They were still in the chamber with the keeper, but somehow he was back on the ship. This had to be part of the test. How long do we have? Jin asked. Maybe 20 minutes before the storm reaches us, Rihan replied. I can lift off and move the ship to safety, but it means leaving you and the others behind. There's no way to get back to you through that storm. Jin's heart raced. Without the ship, they would die on this planet. But if they left now, they would never learn what the archive contained. Humanity might never get another chance like this. Sir, what are your orders? Rihan asked. Before Jin could answer, the scene changed again. Now he was back in the chamber with his team, but Tay Park was standing in front of a wall covered with complex machinery. I can fix this, Tay Park was saying to the keeper, but I need parts from our life support system. If I take them, we'll only have enough air for maybe 6 hours instead of the 3 days we planned. And if you don't fix it, the keeper asked, then the test ends here. We won't be able to access the deeper levels of the archive. Sol Kim was studying her scanner. Our communication system is failing too. The planet's radiation finally got through our shielding. We can send one last message to Earth, but then we'll be cut off forever. Jin realized what was happening. The keeper was not testing their intelligence or their bravery. These trials were designed to break their hope. Each choice forced them to give up something important with no guarantee that they would gain anything in return. The storm will destroy our ship, Jin said to his team. Tay's repairs will use up most of our air. Our communications are dead. We're being asked to sacrifice everything we need to survive, just for the chance to continue a test that might not even have a real reward. That's exactly right, the keeper said. Every species that came before you reached this same point. The Zelthari demanded proof that the knowledge was real before they would risk their ships. The Mintaki insisted on knowing every possible outcome before they would make any sacrifice. The Drakthi tried to find clever ways around each choice, looking for solutions that would let them keep everything. And they all failed? Sol Kim asked. They all chose safety over discovery, certainty over possibility. They preserved what they had, instead of risking it for what they might gain. Rihan's voice came through the communication system again. Captain, the storm is getting closer. I need orders now. Jin looked at his team. They were all waiting for him to make the decision. But he realized that leadership meant more than just giving orders. What do you think? He asked them. Tay Park spoke first. I say we take the risk. I can jury-rig a remote control system for the ship using some of our life support components. That way Rai can move the ship to safety without having to abandon us completely. That's brilliant, Sol Kim said. And I can modify our communication system to send a compressed data burst to Earth. Instead of a long message, we send all our discoveries so far in one quick transmission. Rihan's voice was excited now. If Tay can build a remote system, I can pilot the ship from down there with you. We stay together as a team. Jin felt a surge of pride in his crew. Instead of fighting over the hard choices, they were finding ways to work together through them. Do it, he ordered. Tay Park immediately began working on the machinery, pulling components from their life support packs. Their remaining air supply dropped from 3 days to 8 hours, but he successfully built a remote piloting system. Sol Kim reworked their communication array, compressing all their data about the planet, the door, and the keeper into a single powerful transmission. Message sent, she announced. Earth will know what we found here. Rihan used the remote system to pilot their ship away from the storm, finding shelter in a deep canyon several miles away. Ship secured, she reported. We can get back to it when we're done here. The keeper was quiet for a long moment. When it finally spoke, there was something like amazement in its voice. Remarkable. Other species saw these as impossible choices. You turned them into problems to be solved together. That's what humans do, Jin said. We don't give up. We find another way. But the trials were not over. The chamber changed again. And now they stood before a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with inner light. Knowledge flowed through it like water, visible as streams of glowing symbols. This is the archive itself, the keeper said. All the knowledge of 1,000 civilizations. Technologies that could end disease, hunger, and war on your world. Sciences that could let your people live forever and travel between the stars as easily as walking between rooms. Sol Kim stepped closer to the structure. She could feel the knowledge calling to her, promising answers to questions that had puzzled humanity for centuries. But there is a price, the keeper continued. To access this knowledge safely, one person must remain here permanently. They must become a new keeper, bound to this world forever, ensuring that the knowledge is only shared with those who prove themselves worthy. Jin felt his heart sink. They had come so far. overcome so many challenges only to face an impossible choice. We would never see home again? Sol Kim asked. Never, the keeper confirmed. But you would become something greater than human. You would gain access to wisdom beyond anything your species has ever imagined. Jin expected his team to argue about who should make the sacrifice. Instead, something incredible happened. I'll do it, all four of them said at exactly the same time. The keeper fell silent, processing what it had just witnessed. You would all volunteer? It asked. Of course, Tae Park said. This knowledge could save millions of lives. It's worth any sacrifice, Sol Kim added. We came here as a team, Rihan said. Whatever happens, we face it together, Jin nodded. If one of us has to stay, then we all stay. That's what it means to be human. The keeper's voice was filled with something that might have been wonder. In millions of years of testing, no species has ever responded this way. Others fought over who would be forced to stay, or demanded that the sacrifice be someone else's responsibility. You compete to make the sacrifice yourselves. That's because we understand something the others didn't, Jin said. The greatest knowledge isn't what you can hoard for yourself. It's what you can share with others. The chamber began to glow brighter, and the archive pulsed with new energy. Perhaps, the keeper said slowly, there is another way. Jin looked at the glowing archive and then at his team. An idea was forming in his mind, something that felt completely different from what the keeper expected. You said no species has ever responded the way we did, Jin said to the keeper. Maybe that means we can find a solution that no one else thought of. What do you mean? The keeper asked. Sol Kim stepped forward, her scientific mind already working on the same idea. You've been thinking about this problem the same way for millions of years. One person stays to guard the knowledge, keeping it safe from those who might misuse it. But what if there's a better way? I am listening, the keeper said. Tae Park was studying the archive's structure, his engineer's eyes seeing possibilities that others might miss. This system was designed to protect knowledge by limiting access to it, he said. But humans work differently. We protect knowledge by sharing it. Explain, the keeper demanded. On Earth we have libraries, Sol Kim said. Buildings full of books and information that anyone can access. We protect knowledge not by hiding it, but by making sure it's preserved in many places, taught to many people. But your libraries do not contain the power to reshape reality itself, the keeper argued. This knowledge could destroy civilizations if misused. Rihan spoke up from where she was examining the walls of the chamber. Then we teach people how to use it responsibly. We don't just give them the power. We give them the wisdom to understand what that power means. Jin nodded, the full plan becoming clear in his mind. Instead of one guardian trapped here forever, we create a network. Human scholars and scientists working together, studying small pieces of the archive's knowledge at a time, learning how to use it safely. Impossible, the keeper said. The knowledge must be contained, controlled. That is the only way to prevent catastrophe. But your way has failed, Sol Kim pointed out gently. You've been sitting here for millions of years waiting for someone worthy. Meanwhile, civilizations have risen and fallen without ever benefiting from this knowledge at all. You've been so focused on preventing misuse that you've prevented any use. Tae Park was working with his equipment again, studying the archive's energy patterns. I think I can modify the transmission systems, he said. Instead of downloading everything at once, we could set up a gradual transfer. Small amounts of knowledge sent to different research centers on Earth over many years. That way, no single person or group gets enough power to become dangerous, Rihan added. But humanity as a whole can slowly learn and grow. The keeper was quiet for a long time, processing this new concept. When it finally spoke, its voice was thoughtful. You propose to turn the archive from a treasure to be guarded into a teacher to be shared. Exactly, Jin said. And we don't just take the knowledge. We give something back. What could you possibly give that would be of value? The keeper asked. Sol Kim smiled. A new perspective. You've been alone here for so long that you've forgotten something important. Knowledge grows when it's shared. When different minds work on the same problem, they find solutions that none of them could discover alone. Like what we just did with your trials, Tae Park added. You designed them to be impossible choices, but we found ways to work together that turned impossible into possible. The keeper's voice held a note of wonder. You would make the archive itself a collaborative effort. Why not? Jin asked. You have the wisdom of 1,000 dead civilizations. We have the energy and curiosity of a civilization that's still growing. Together we might discover things that neither of us could find alone. But who would guard against misuse? The keeper asked. Who would ensure that the knowledge is not used for destruction? All of us, Sol Kim said simply. When knowledge is shared openly, it's harder for any one group to use it for evil. Other people can see what they're doing and stop them. And if someone tries to use the knowledge to become like a god, the keeper pressed, then the rest of us remind them what it means to be human, Rihan said. We don't let anyone forget where they came from or why they started seeking knowledge in the first place. Park had finished his calculations. I can set up a transmission system that would take about 50 years to transfer all the archive's knowledge safely. Each piece would go to different research institutions, and they would have to work together to understand how it all fits together. 50 years, the keeper mused. A long time for your species, but not too long, Jin said. Long enough for us to learn wisdom along with power. Long enough to make sure we don't make the same mistakes as the civilizations that came before us. The archive began to pulse with new rhythms, and the symbols on the walls shifted into new patterns. The keeper was considering their proposal, running simulations through systems older than human civilization. There is risk, the keeper finally said. Your species could still fall to pride or fear or confusion. Yes, Jin admitted. But there's also hope, and hope is what makes us human. You would establish a permanent research station here, the keeper said, a place where human scholars could work directly with the archive, learning how to interpret and safely share its knowledge. We'd volunteers to run it, Sol Kim said immediately. We've already proven we can survive on this world. And we'd train others, Park added. Create a whole generation of researchers who understand both the power of this knowledge and the responsibility that comes with it. But you would all give up your lives on Earth, the keeper pointed out. You would sacrifice your chance to return home. Jin looked at his team and saw the same determination in their eyes that had brought them this far. We're not giving up our lives, he said. We're starting new ones, building something that will benefit all of humanity for generations to come. And we wouldn't be alone, Rihan added. Other humans would come here to learn and help. This place would become a bridge between Earth and the stars. The keeper was quiet for another long moment. When it spoke again, its voice held a warmth that had not been there before. In millions of years, no species has taught me anything new, it said. But you have shown me that the greatest knowledge is not what you can preserve, but what you can transform. Very well. We will try your way. The archive flared with brilliant light and new passages opened in the chamber walls. I will modify the systems to allow gradual knowledge transfer, the keeper said. And I will learn from you as you learn from me. 6 months later, Jin stood on the observation deck of the new research station, watching as another ship landed in the canyon below. More scientists and engineers were arriving from Earth, eager to work with the archive and learn its secrets. Sol Kim was in the main laboratory, working with a team of linguists to translate the first knowledge transfer. They had chosen to start with medical technologies that could help fight diseases back on Earth. Park was training a new group of engineers in how to maintain the station's systems in the hostile environment. The protective fields were working perfectly, and they had even learned how to use the planet's own energy to power their equipment. Rihan was piloting regular supply runs between the station and the orbital platform they had established. She had become the best pilot in the human fleet at landing in impossible conditions. Status report, Jin said into his communicator. All systems normal, Park replied. The new arrivals are adapting well to the environment. Translation work is proceeding on schedule, Sol Kim added. We should have the first medical data ready to transmit to Earth within the month. And the keeper? Jin asked. Still learning, Sol Kim said with a smile in her voice. Yesterday it asked me to explain the concept of hope. I think it's starting to understand why humans never give up. Jin looked out at the hostile landscape that had become their new home. The acid storm still raged and the radiation was still deadly. But they had turned this world of death into a place of learning and discovery. Captain, the keeper's voice came through the communication system. I have been thinking about your species' concept of home. What about it? Jin asked. I always thought of this place as a prison where I was bound to guard ancient knowledge, the keeper said. But you have shown me that home is not a place where you are trapped. It is a place where you choose to build something meaningful. Jin smiled. Welcome home, Keeper. The archive pulsed with warm light, and in that glow, the future of both species looked brighter than ever before.